This is the brand new Mercedes A-Class, and apparently it's been given a whole host of upgrades for 2023. Brand new interior, brand new exterior, and brand new technology. Or at least that's what they say. Truth is, I've been stood here for like 45 minutes and I can't see anything new.
The changes are very subtle. This is the midlife refresh, meaning the stage in a car's life when they throw some new bits at it to make it feel newer, even if underneath the changes aren't exactly substantial.
You might actually need a magnifying glass to spot the changes, but they are there. Let me show you them. First of all, the headlights are brand new. They've gotten rid of the old basic halogen beams on the old car in favor of two choices of LEDs. So the standard LEDs can go bright or dim depending on whether there's cars in front of you, automatically of course, or there's multi-beam LEDs which can fire beams in different areas of the road to light up the areas that you can't see. They've also given it a new DRL signature. So the old car had a 7 shape. This has a simple horizontal line across the top, and I think it looks a little bit better than the old design. The grille is also slightly different. Now you get thousands of these individual Mercedes stars, which again makes it look a little bit more contemporary. And this propeller with the horizontal bars across the side is a little thinner and a bit more stylish than it used to be. You also get a new front bumper design, very subtly bringing it in line with more modern Mercedes cars, and you get power bulges on the bonnet, which is straight off the old Mercedes A45. Around the side, not much has changed. There is a new wheel design, although this is a previously available wheel, finished in black, 18 inches if you're wondering. And also this car is finished in the night package, so you get black around the windows as opposed to chrome. Meanwhile, around the back, the only thing that I can see that's new are these LED rear lights, which have a single LED pattern across the middle as opposed to an entire LED ring around the outside. Also, the cameraman, Greg, reckons that the diffuser is new, but I can't really tell. Let me know if he's wrong in the comments down below.
Under the surface, there are a few more tweaks, but again, these are very minor. It's still an A-Class, which means you get the same 370-litre boot, smaller than a Golf, Astra or Civic. Rear space is okay, but the rear doors are narrow and you'll find more room in a VW Golf or BMW 1 Series.
The biggest changes are up front. First of all, you get a choice of either black or grey fabrics on the seats. We've got black here with the contrasting red stitching. The seats themselves also come with 4-way adjustable lumbar support. So in theory, they should be a little bit more comfortable and better for your back. Now, the steering wheel is also new. The previous generation steering wheel had physical controls on it. This does not. It's all capacitive. So on the left-hand spoke, if you move your finger across it, it lets you control the options on the infotainment display. And on the right-hand spoke, it lets you control the options on the driver display. Looks fantastic, but because it's capacitive, it does mean that when you're cornering, you can accidentally press these buttons with the palm of your hand. So it can be a little bit annoying. The huge change in this car is the fact that it now comes with the latest version of Mercedes MBUX. So these displays and their contents are all new. I'll take you through the driver display first of all. Press the home button and now you can choose between different themes: understated, sport, classic, navigation, assistance, or service, just like you get on the new S-Class. And they look great as well. It's a really nice touch. I like sport, so I'm gonna whack it in sport for the moment. And then on the infotainment display, this is all controlled using touch now. So in the old car, you had a slightly weird looking mouse trackpad style system, which worked okay and had haptic feedback, so it was pretty good. But up here, now you're restricted to using nature's stylus, but it does a pretty effective job. It also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, and the big news is that it fills pretty much the entire screen. On the old car, you had borders on the left and right hand side. It looked like a bit of a cheap afterthought, but now because it fills that display, it looks a lot more premium. The new A-Class can also come with ambient lighting if you spec it, and that means you get ambient lights up on the dashboard and in the doors, and also behind these lovely feeling and sounding turbine style vents on the dashboard. Speaking of feeling lovely, there's a few build quality issues that I've noticed in this particular car at least. First of all, the screens move a little bit more than I would like in my car personally, and also down here on these physical controls for the aircon, there's a little bit too much movement for my tastes. I do like the fact that these are physical, but a little bit less movement wouldn't go amiss. So, what is the new Mercedes A-Class like to drive? Any different to the old Mercedes A-Class? Actually, no, you might be surprised to learn. It's very, very similar, and that's mostly good. First impressions, it's pretty refined in here. There are many hatchbacks in this class, but the A-Class is near enough the top of its game when it comes to quietness and general ambiance in the cabin. I think one of the things the A-Class does particularly well is to make the driver and passengers feel like they're in a nice environment. You can't help but sit in here and think, yeah, this feels premium. What's the ride quality like? Yeah, it's pretty decent. I think the suspension is fairly well judged, so not too hard, not too soft. It kind of flows with the road reasonably well. No complaints there. The steering is pretty good as well. I've got a left-hander coming up. Let's bung it in and see how it responds. Yeah. Shocker, it goes left when you turn left and right when you turn right. Plus it's quite light as well, which means it's actually quite easy to maneuver when you're in and around town. Parking, absolute doddle. As for powertrains, well, you get an awful lot of choice when it comes to engines and gearboxes in the new A-Class. You got petrol, you got diesel, you got plug-in hybrid. I mean, the A200, which I think is going to be the most popular version of the A-Class, and that uses a 1.3 litre four-cylinder engine, making 163 horsepower and 270 Newton meters of torque. Sounds like quite a healthy amount, doesn't it? Let's put the foot down and see what happens. Yeah, you get some noise. You get a little bit of acceleration, not an awful lot, but it's there. 0 to 62 in just over 8 seconds. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's quick, but probably didn't expect that, did you? All versions of the A-Class are hybridized in some way. So at the top level, you got the A250, which is a plug-in hybrid. In other words, batteries, electric motor, and internal combustion working together to give you propulsion and decent economy. The rest of them use mild hybrid technology. So there's a 48-volt system with a belt-driven starter generator, basically a small motor that works in conjunction with the ICE engine to give you an extra 14 or so horsepower. Its purpose is to smooth things out a little bit, just to give you a little bit of extra thrust from low speeds to get you moving, and also to recharge the 12-volt system in the A-Class. Think of it as a kind of alternator which keeps the batteries powered up and also gives you a little bit of extra thrust when you're pulling away. On that subject though, I'm kind of wondering whether that belt-driven starter motor has affected the pleasure of the driving experience slightly by making things a little too jerky and sudden when you pull away. So let me stop and show you what I mean. If I was to pull off right now, it's quite a sudden jerk off the line. I'll do it one more time. It's almost like there's too much boost from a standstill to get you going. I feel like that could be smoothed out a little bit. It's just a little bit too sudden for my liking. To be fair, you can learn how to drive it in a way that reduces the amount of jerkiness, but you do notice it, particularly when you start driving the car for the first time. I feel like this isn't the smoothest Mercedes I've ever driven. You put your foot down and there's a little bit of delay before it accelerates. There's that kind of jerkiness at lower speeds. I also noticed that having driven a ton of electric cars, including Mercedes electric cars over the last few years, that even cheap electric cars feel a lot smoother, a lot more refined, and a lot more premium than even a premium, albeit entry-level ICE car. So there is that to bear in mind as well. Do you go for a premium ICE brand like the A-Class, or do you go for something that's perhaps less premium and go electric and have a far smoother driving experience? Definitely worth thinking about.
How good is the economy? Well, both the A180 and A200, which use the same engine, just in different levels of power, 136 horsepower in the A180 and 163 horsepower in the A200, return between 44 and 48 miles per gallon WLTP. Not bad, but there are hybrid cars in this price range that deliver better numbers. The A180 starts from £31,880, with prices increasing if you go for the bigger engines. For around 32 grand, you could get yourself a Honda Civic, which delivers far better fuel economy and performance, albeit with a far less refined driving experience.
So let's summarize then. Is the new Mercedes A-Class worth considering? I think absolutely. They've done a pretty decent job in updating the car and making it feel a lot more modern. There were people out there, I guarantee you, who were considering an A-Class, but then getting inside it and then realizing that some of its rivals maybe had stepped ahead, and by including the new technology, the new looks, they've actually made this a far more appealing proposition than it otherwise might be. Is it massively different at its core? No, of course not. But the updates make it a pretty decent all-round car that ultimately I think is worth considering.